Hello and welcome to Stitch Lab. My name's Brondwyn and I am a crafter, knitter, sewist from Blue Mountains, Australia. And I decided to start this channel to share my projects with the world. There's only so much I can share my hyperfixations with the people in my real life as much as I try. So if you're interested in all things knitting, sewing, sustainability, then come along in my journey. Today I wanted to film a knitting podcast. Knitting has been like one of the main things on my mind lately. So if you're interested in hearing about my most recent knit as well as what I've got working in progress, then stick around. So I'm going to do this podcast very classic, go through what I've just finished knitting and what's on my needles at the moment, as well as some potential plans for the future. So I'll start off with what I'm wearing. This is the Sibling sweater by Laura Penrose. I knit this using a bit of a hodgepodge of different yarns actually. This is the first jumper or garment, I should say, that I have ever made using an actual pattern. So I am very proud of it. And I don't know why. I've been knitting since I was maybe 13 or younger, and I have never followed a pattern. I don't know why I'm like this, but I feel like I can watch a tutorial about what a raglan even is, and then I can just do it myself. And I really didn't see the value in buying patterns. But I thought, you know what, I'm sick of my projects not turning out exactly the way I want them to. I'm going to follow someone else's pattern. Everyone is telling me follow patterns, they're worth it, these patterns are amazing, blah, blah, blah. So I thought, okay, I'm going to trust the people of the internet and I'm going to follow a pattern. And yeah, worked out perfectly. Crazy. Laura writes her patterns really beautifully. I'm really happy with the way it turns out. And it was very comforting knowing like I was going to get a jumper that I would love right from the beginning. So super happy with that. I knit it exactly as the pattern recommends. I must have the exact same gauge as Laura, so 3.5mm needles for all of the ribbing and 4mm needles for all of the stocking knit. Really pleased with the way it turned out. The collar is in this sort of two-toned yarn. It's a vintage checkered yarn, so it has that sort of crepey feel to it. Very classic. If you're in Australia, you know that sort of vintage textured yarn that I'm talking about. And the beige stripes are from my grandmother on my mother's side. She stopped knitting quite a long time ago and I have quite a lot of her old stash, and she had a lot of this mystery yarn in beige. I am convinced that it's alpaca purely because of the length and softness of the hairs, and it definitely drapes a lot like alpaca. I ended up not having quite enough of the yarn, so some of the stripes in the sleeve are actually like just a baby merino 4-ply held double that I thrifted. And I don't think you can really tell, to be honest. A close-up you can tell the weight is slightly different because this is a 8-ply yarn, the alpaca, and then down here this is 2 strands of 4-ply yarn, so it's just a little bit more dense and it is not as hairy either. So the alpaca yarn has like quite a bit of a halo, and the merino baby yarn does not have any halo at all, but I think overall it blends quite nicely, and it's a good way to use up this beautiful yarn from my grandma. I feel like it was worth it, and I feel like it worked quite well. The last yarn that I used is this Bendigo Woollen Mills ochre. It was a cone that I thrifted quite a while back. It's a 3-ply yarn. I held it double. It's 100% merino. I don't think they stock this exact yarn anymore. This was a 3-ply classic. But yeah, it's beautiful. I have the details to the yarns that I know about in the description. That goes for all of my projects. But I am a big secondhand buyer. I personally don't buy animal fibers firsthand, but I receive a lot from my grandparents, and also I love to thrift. So I do knit with all natural fibers, and I am very lucky and spend a lot of time thrifting to find these treasured yarns, and I like to make the most of them. So that brings us, got to get the coffee in. That brings us to my most recent finished object. I decided not to do like all of the ones that I've recently knit, just because it's episode 1 of the podcast. So you're not that interested, you haven't seen the works in progress, but I thought I would show you my most recent cast off, which is the Zipper Sweater Light by PetiteKnit. It's in this beautiful red. I knit the size 3, and I used a Bendigo Woollen Mills 3-ply in red. It's just a classic merino that I bought secondhand. This was from Facebook Marketplace, actually, and she was getting rid of a lot of her stash, and she gave me this beautiful red. I've used about half of it for this jumper, and she also gave me a navy blue, which is so lovely. I love Bendigo Woollen Mills yarn. It's just really good quality. All of the vintage hand knits that I have from my grandparents and my mum are made with their wool, so it just feels very classic Australiana, I guess. And I know that this will last and holds its structure really well. Yeah, super happy with the overall look. The marling or the striping sort of pattern is from the mohair. So I used it's called Touch Mohair. I believe it's discontinued now, but I thrifted 2 skeins, 2 100-gram skeins of its, and it is 60% kid mohair and 40% merino. And it had this beautiful hand-dyed stripe, and it sort of had some red that perfectly matched the Bendigo red, and it also had some purple, a little bit of orange, and it's just created the most beautiful soft halo, as well as a very comfortable fabric. So I live in a quite temperate climate, so I don't really need really heavy knits. So that's why I use the Zipper Sweater Light, and yeah, it's perfect. It's next to skin soft, so I can wear this with like a t-shirt, or even I've worn it with just a tank top underneath for a chilly morning, and then I can take it off. It's like that sort of sporty style that you can sort of wear with anything. And I added this porcelain bead with a little tulip on it, sort of hand painted little bead that I had on the zipper. The zipper is just from Spotlight, which is our sort of big box craft store here in Australia. And I just am so obsessed with the way that this turned out. I can't believe that I knit this myself. Again, I'm new to following patterns, and so I've just gone a bit crazy the past few months, being like, oh my gosh, patterns. You can decide what you're going to make and it's going to turn out exactly the way that you want to. I love the way that the facing looks. I noticed on Ravelry that a lot of people had this really stark line here under the zipper. I don't know what people are doing, but the way that it's sewn on in a lot of people's Ravelry photos, you get like a very harsh line at the bottom of the zipper. So the bottom has this placket, and then you're supposed to sew it down to sort of hide the zip. But a lot of people, you could see it so clearly in the front, and I don't know why. I feel like mine blends in. Can't tell where that is. It's about there. I don't know. I used the mohair to sew the zip in, which worked really well. Just completely disappears into the fabric. Yeah, I'm so pleased with it. And this is my first PetiteKnit pattern, so now I feel like a true online knitter. So, you know, I feel like you can't be a knit influencer without knitting PetiteKnit. So I've ticked the box. There you go. So my next project is almost finished. I am making myself a hot water bottle cover, which I am so pleased with how it's turning out so far. I did not follow a pattern. I know I was just talking about how much I love patterns now, but I love graph paper just as much. So I made a little design. I went through a few iterations. I wanted to include that classic sawtooth sort of patchwork motif. I thought I was going to include this little plant motif. This was my finalized design. I really love this, but I ended up having slightly off row gauge, so I didn't have enough room for this full motif, so I ended up just doing some little love hearts. But that's what I ended up with for the sawtooth motif, and just for the love hearts down the bottom, just this pattern repeat. And yeah, I think it's worked out very well. It looks a bit long and thin, but it's just that it's with stranded colour work, I find that you end up with a fabric that has sort of two-way stretch in a way. Like it stretches much more this way than it does this way, so it just wants to sit nice and narrow. But I've tried it on the hot water bottle and it is the perfect fit. So I have essentially finished all of the shaping. I just cast on the way you do the toe of a sock. So it's absolutely seamless, puffing this hole. No idea what happened there. But there's no seam down the bottom, which I love. Knit it in the round, so no seams down the side. And then just some really speedy decreases to create that bottle shaping. So now I'm just going to knit 5 centimeters or so of rib, and then I'll cast off half the stitches and continue knitting more rib to create like a flap. That's the plan at the moment. I've realised now that maybe the flap will mean that it's too hard to get the hot water bottle in. So I'm going to do that first and see how it goes. But yeah, I'm so pleased with how it looks. And I'm so excited to have a cover for my hot water bottle because I just bought one naked and I've been using it every night. And it's boiling hot when you first get into bed with it. Like I cannot touch it. Anyway, keeps the bed nice and warm, even if it's just sitting next to me and not touching me. So for this project, I had some wool from my mum. So she had 2 balls of vintage wool. So these are just a 8-ply, 100% wool, non-superwash. So there's this one in this lovely variegated colour, and she had this dark green, which I thought matched perfectly. I was really worried I was going to run out of yarn, so I'm not using a pattern, so I couldn't calculate it. So I had also thrifted this ball of Bendigo Woollen Mills 8-ply yarn, which is in a beautiful green colour, which matches the variegation very well. In fact, in some places, the variegated yarn is such a close shade of green that you almost couldn't tell which was which. So that's why I did this sort of checkerboard motif in between each pattern. And I think that sort of blended in the light green that I've used down the bottom here and up the top quite nicely. Like, it doesn't look out of place, I don't think. So I think that I've used about half of each of these. I need to get a scale. I am currently visiting my sister and she does not have a kitchen scale. So I need to weigh these and figure out how much I have left. They were both 50-gram balls when I started, and so was this one. But I feel like I might have enough to make another hot water bottle cover for my sister. She's currently just got a little fleece one that my mum made for her. Well, we all had one maybe 15 years ago. She made them. It's got raw edges. It works perfectly fine, but I know that she would appreciate a lovely hand knit colour work one from me, and we could have matching ones, so that would be really cute. We live quite far apart. She lives in Hobart, which is where I am now, and I live in New South Wales, which is quite a bit further up the east coast of Australia. So yeah, that's that project. So close to being finished. I just need to do a little bit of ribbing, and then it's done. Hopefully it will fit. Otherwise I'll have to rip it back. But yeah, super pleased with how that's turning out, and then potentially make a second one using the leftovers. So another project that I have, this is my sort of on the go project, is a pair of socks. This is the first pair of animal fibre socks I've ever made. I have used a lot of cotton yarns to make my socks. I've made a lot of socks last year. I knit over 1 pair a month, so I have quite a solid sock collection, and they're all using like a cotton sock yarn. So I have the Lana Gracer mill and wheat cotton sock, and I had some of the Regia cotton sock in a few different colours, and I was gifted the 52 Weeks of Sock book by my big sister, so I got to work making myself a ton of socks. And that was great, but yeah, like I said, I don't buy animal fibre new, so I haven't had a chance to use a lot of different sock yarns that other people use. But I was recently visiting my grandmother in Victoria, and she is sort of aging out slightly of the fibre community. She knows what she likes. She crochets granny squares with Bendigo Woollen Mills 4-ply yarn. That's it. She does not use anything else. So she was kind enough to let me go through some of her stash. She has downsized a lot, But she had this beautiful sock yarn. So it is an alpaca sock yarn. I think it's the brand Socks. The label was a bit scrappy. I'll put it in the description if I can find it, or I'll put a picture up of the label. So she gifted me this. So these are my first alpaca socks. They feel so nice and soft. But again, I don't know how much I'm going to be able to wear them. I wear my cotton socks literally every day in my docks. I wear them to work. I wear them out on the town. I'm not precious with them at all. I just chuck them in the washing machine. They've all been in the dryer. They're very durable. They've really got no wear on them at all. I've been wearing some of them for over a year. And you can't tell the order that I knit them in based on their condition. So I think that's a good sign. Whereas I feel like these are going to be too precious, which is not what you want in a sock. It's a sock. You know, I love knitted socks, and I am proud of my hand knit socks, and I do colour work on them and lace and whatever to make them special, but I don't want to be precious with them. I don't want to be thinking about, oh, am I going to wear this today? What if they rub? What if they pill? So I'm slightly nervous about this. I believe that this sock yarn says that you can put it in the washing machine, and it even says you can put it in the dryer. But we'll see. I enjoy knitting with the yarn anyway. It's really lovely and soft. It definitely has a lot more stretch to it than any of the cotton socks that I've made. I do like alpaca. I really enjoyed knitting with this. And when I got this from my grandma, she had this beautiful bright purple alpaca yarn, baby alpaca yarn, that she said that she wanted to knit a scarf out of and never got around to it. So I ended up knitting her a PetiteKnit Sophie scarf. I'll give you a picture of her wearing it. I don't have it with me anymore. So I sent that back down to Melbourne with my grandfather once I finished knitting it, and she really likes it. So now she can wear that, and in return I get these beautiful socks, which I'm going to keep for myself. So anyway, I mostly knit these like on the train or on the aeroplane, so I haven't gotten a ton done on them. But my preferred sock formula is top down, 2 at a time. I'm not about to do 1 sock at a time. All of the patterns that I have used, I have converted to make them 2 at a time. I am not going to finish a whole sock and then knit another sock and realize it's not the same size or whatever. Like, at least this way, if I make a mistake on one, I immediately make the same mistake on the other sock. So they're always a pair. And I just know I won't remember any modifications that I make on one sock to make them the same as the next sock when I'm knitting that, like a week later. Anyway, so these socks I'm not using a pattern for. I wanted a folded over cuff, and I wanted to do like a scalloped edge, and I couldn't find anywhere that had a folded over scalloped edge for a cuff. So I made my own pattern. I just did some slip stitches, and you can see it kind of worked. I think I might be able to block these to be slightly more scallopy. But either way, I think it's cute. It's a cute little top of the sock. And I do like double knit. I've never done a double knit band before because I'm worried about the lack of stretch in the cotton. Yeah, really nice. And then I'm just doing a 3x1 rib for the rest of the sock. I'll do a heel flap and gusset. I'll probably do a slip stitch heel. And I might even do a slip stitch toe, which I've never done before. But like I said, I'm really worried about this sock yarn not lasting as well. It just feels fragile. It feels too soft to be a sock. I don't want to make myself socks for bed or around the house because I don't wear socks to bed. That's a sensory nightmare to me. So we'll see how they go. I love the look. They're going to look so good with my creepers, my black creepers. I'm going to wear them to work and I am going to be the coolest kid in town. So that's that project. And yeah, I really only knit on these when I'm at a cafe or traveling. So my last project is my wave sweater. And I'm so excited about this. So this is the wave sweater by Spektakelstrik, I think, which is the brand by my Firring. She is a Danish knitwear designer and art curator, I think. And I absolutely love the wave sweater. I have wanted to knit this pattern for so long, but I just found it really intimidating, and I thought a lot of people who were reviewing it online said that the shaping wasn't very good, and that they were having issues with like lumps along the front. I haven't come across that issue at all. The increases are not that dramatic at all, so I don't understand what that whole conversation was about. But I love the pattern. It is just so fun. So for this, I am using this vintage mohair fibre. So this is, I think, 40% wool and 10% nylon, as well as the 50% mohair. I'll put a picture of the yarn label up, but it is a vintage yarn. I found a ton of it at the op shop. I almost didn't pick it up because it looked really felted in the balls, but as soon as I scanned it up to dye it, it looked beautiful, lovely and soft. So I'm really glad I picked this up. Such a bargain. This op shop that I usually go to find yarn